So just connecting. Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us and welcome back. I'd like to introduce you to Rachel Anderson from Tea and Empathy. And Rachel, I'll leave you to it.
Thank you so much, Rachel, and thanks for the good chat backstage as well. It's really been lovely getting to know people. I'm very happy to be here with you today, and for the people be catching up on the catch up replays and all the platforms that they're going to be there. So I'm going to talk to you today about grounding, about moving from a place which may feel distracted, disconnected, or in a place of distress or anxiousness, to finding your way to feeling calm, at ease, centered, feeling control of yourself, balanced, with different perspective. Even in talking about it, I can feel my nerves at speaking. I'm starting to settle down and become more grounded myself. So let me tell you a little bit about me before I get caught into it. So who am I to tell you about this? Well, my first career was in forestry. There's lots of trees behind me. I've always loved trees, and so as a teenager, I dreamt of being able to work with trees. So I went into forestry. I did my degree in forestry, and then I spent 18 years with the Forestry Commission. I wanted to be so connected to nature. And of course, I found the higher up in management I went, the more disconnected from nature I was. And not only just disconnected from nature, I became more and more disconnected from my nature too. I was trying to lead in the way that I was told to lead rather than a way that felt natural. I was trying to be a more extroverted version of myself because I hadn't realised or accepted that actually I'm a social introvert, and my energy is that of an introvert. So I reached a time when actually I was burning out, and I'd heard about coaching, but I'd never tried coaching for myself. Bumped into a wonderful coach company who were going to coach me to be a better line manager coach. And that coaching turned my life on its head. It turned everything around. And so it started a journey from me feeling very burnt out and anxious, feeling like a victim, to where I am today, kind of 13 years later, which is a very different kettle of fish altogether. And that's not just from my own aging and wisdom, it's been about what I've learned along the way. So these days I'm a leadership coach. I also work with people as private individuals, not just in a leadership capacity, because this is around us as whole people. And I continue to walk the talk, or try to walk the talk myself, and implement what I know of leadership. I spent 3 years in a leadership role from between 2017 to 2020, just to check back in of what I've learnt, how I've grown, can I put into practice what I've been supporting other people with over the last 13 years. And clients over the years, I've coached something like 1,000 people on a one-to-one basis now. But people always say to me at the end of the session that it's like, oh, I just needed a dose of Rachel because now I feel so calm again. Oh, now I feel really grounded. It's like it's discharged all the static and energy. I was feeling all jangled, and now it's like a big out breath. I feel calm again. So it's always had me very curious about what I do in that process of grounding people. It wasn't something I was necessarily consciously doing, but I realised also I ground myself, and I was a process in that. And I've done more research over the years around what grounding actually is. And there are a number of different schools of thought around grounding. So today I'll talk to you about what grounding is and what grounding isn't. And I'll give you some practical techniques that you can use right now to help you settle back down. And there's a wonderful connection and correlation with what you'll hear from everybody else on this event. I'm really struck by, we're all talking about very similar things, but from different angles and using a different language to access it. So you'll have lots of different opportunities to hear who resonates most for you, who you're able to hear better, which techniques and words make more sense for you to help to come to a place where you can be your natural self, calm, grounded, in the moment, letting go of worries about the future, letting go with regrets about the past, being able to in the here and now, being able to get out of your head and into your body, and not being flooded by emotion, just being in touch and informed by your emotions. And often it's around attention. There's a saying that where attention goes, energy flows. So it's often around what you're giving your attention to. It so often strikes me that when clients come to me for the first time, they're really worried that they're worrying, and they're unhappy that they're not happy. And they get caught in this cycle of anxiety, and it's a little bit like if you're worrying that you're not sleeping, then it was harder to sleep. We get caught in these vortexes, and it's around breaking that cycle. Because I was in forestry, because I love trees, and my very corny line is that I used to grow trees, but these days I grow people. I'll still draw on nature a lot to inform me and to give the metaphors around our own personal development and our personal growth. And so one of the things I use is an acronym of the OAK, O-A-K. It's the principles I try and live my life by. It's the principles that run through the heart of my business, Tea and Empathy. And I see their relevance all the time. I heard Rosemary touch on a couple of them earlier. The first one, the O in OAK, is for ownership. We can't always control what happens to us. We can't control other people as much as we would like, much as sometimes we'd love to be able to do that. There is only one thing, one aspect of life we have complete control over, and that is ourselves. We can't control what happens, but we can control our response. That is, as Viktor Frankl said, the last of the human freedoms. You can take away everything else, but how we choose to bring ourselves and how we choose to respond is always up to us. And so we can take ownership of our life and our responses to that. And yes, there may be external context that makes it difficult, but we can own what's ours to own. And before I understood what coaching was about, before the coaching I had nearly 15 years ago now, I didn't realise that ownership piece, and I was caught being a victim. And that's so debilitating, being caught as a victim in your own life. So the O is for ownership. The A is for acceptance. It is how it is right now. You are who you are right now. Often we get caught in this fantasy of how we should be. It should be like this. I should be like this. They should be like that. You hear the should and the frustration that things aren't how they should be. And we lose so much energy, get so caught in frustration in that gap between the reality of how things are and the fantasy that we're holding on to, how we wish it was. And if we're able to let go of the fantasy and just accept, right now, this is reality. You can already feel like the discharge, the earthing back down, release of energy to be able to take the next steps that are available to you to take, that will take you in the direction of where you want to go without being caught in the fantasy that suddenly you should be in this mythical place, be this mythical person. So ownership, acceptance, and the K is for kindness. You know, when you plant a tree, if you plant a tree in a harsh environment, it will survive, probably, and it will grow. But it's despite the context in the environment, not because of it. It will push its way through. It will survive and grow in whatever way is available to it. But if you plant a tree in a nourishing environment, then you'll see it blossom and grow much more to its full potential. Then you'll see what that tree is really capable of. And it's the same for ourselves, that actually we don't need to strive, we don't need to be hard on ourselves, we don't need to push ourselves, we don't need to have willpower and push on through and create a very harsh, critical environment for us to flourish and grow. We may grow in that environment, but actually it will be despite it, not because of it. Whereas if we're able to be kind to ourselves and to the people around us, that creates the nourishment environment, which means that we are able to grow to our full potential. So in that context of ownership, acceptance, and kindness, I want you to hold the techniques and what I'm going to talk about for the rest of the session. So let me talk a little bit about what is grounding. Now, there are different school of thought, and people use grounding in different terms. There is the psychological way of using the term of grounding, which is around techniques for managing anxiety, of how to bring ourselves back into our body, into a place where we're in much more in balance, where we have that balance between what's going on in our mind, how we are in our emotions and feelings, and being in our body. So they're techniques in grounding, and that's a little bit more how I use the term grounding. There is also grounding, which is starting to gather a little bit of research, but it's still very little research around it, about what happens when we reconnect to the electrons on the Earth's surface. Because there is this piece of, we've become so insulated from nature, we spend time in shoes that insulate us, and we stay very separate from the Earth, and we are electrical beings. We have a flow of energy and electromagnetic forces within us, and so there's an interaction with the Earth. I'm no expert in that, and that's not what I'm going to be talking about. I'll just come from my experience of connection to nature instead. So I come with grounding where somewhere between those two schools of thought, because I know that when we see ourselves as being separate from nature, we separate ourselves from our own nature. We become disconnected, we become distressed, we become distracted. Whereas we can feel far more part of the nature. We are organic beings. When we reconnect to our cycles, our natural flow, when we feel the energy that's around us, when we are much more in our bodies rather than just in our heads, then we naturally become more rooted, more grounded, calmer, and more resilient. We're able to withstand whatever gets thrown at us. We're able to be in the moment. We're able to be more mindful. We're in the present moment. And that may be from kicking off your shoes and feeling your feet on the earth. It's sometimes, I know people that with the huge growth in cold swimming at the moment, actually immersing yourself in natural cold water, and that sense of it on the skin is a natural way of us starting to feel earthed and grounded. For me, there's the sense of, when I feel grounded, it is around a sense of everything settling down. So when you're anxious, where do you notice it in your body? I know for me, when I'm feeling anxious, everything comes up. It feels high in here. I might feel it in my throat, I feel it in my chest. My energy is high. I'm calm, relaxed, at ease. Then everything goes down, back down again, and the energy flows through. I know my emergency first aid treatment, if something has come along to trigger me, one of those moments where where the amygdala comes in, you have that flush of emotion that there's no way we can avoid. When we have that initial fear or trigger or anger, that swell of emotion, my emergency first aid treatment is always to take my attention to my feet. It doesn't matter if I've got shoes on or not, but to feel my feet, to shift my posture, to feel grounded and rooted on the earth, to take a big deep breath into your stomach rather than into your chest, and breathing deeply. I know there'll be some wonderful breathwork sessions over this weekend, but breathing to trigger your parasympathetic nervous system, to calm your system down. Big deep breaths in, breathing out for twice as long as you're breathing in. Everything starts to settle and become grounded again, and you can feel the mind start to calm. So with your head high, with your shoulders relaxed and back, your feet planted firmly on the ground, it's far harder to hold any kind of anxiety or negativity for any length of time. Your body will support you in shifting until you can get a handle on what's running through your head. So shifting back into your body. When we have a trigger, it's a whole neurological response that happens. Our mind starts racing and telling us exaggerated stories. We'll have a physiological response to it, and we become flooded in our own emotions rather than just in touch with them. But not all of our neurology will be affected. There'll be parts of us that are outside that pattern. So bring your attention to what's not been scooped up into that mass of impact when something has happened in that way. And for me, it's often my feet or my legs. That actually, it's often up here that this noise is going on, but there's a stillness that's down below and I can access that. So as I say, even before coming on to speak publicly, to know that it's going to be recorded, in feeling those nerves, I bring my attention to my feet and bring my breath, and I become calm and grounded and resilient and able to handle whatever is here. I know that I can't control everything that may happen, but I've got choices about my response as long as I have the awareness. So practicing the awareness. I'm in my flow, so I'm not checking the chat, but I will come back to that in a moment. So we can bring our awareness to the different parts of the body, but I want to do something else just now as well. Join in if you're able and have room around you and don't have any injuries. But this is something I've just started to do in the mornings when I wake up. It's springtime. This whole event is around the new possibilities and energy that's coming through in this transition time, this liminal period between winter and summer, the time to shake off the old and welcome in the new. We have to shake off the old to make space for the new. And so this is a little thing I just do in the morning to help shift the energy. And so all we're going to do is shake off what we don't need. So if you're, hold on to something if you need to. All we're going to do is put all your weight on one foot and lift the other. You can't see my foot here, but you can imagine it. And then you're just going to shake your foot, shake your ankle, shake your knee, shake all the way up to your hip. Shake it off, shake off anything you need. My slipper just came off, so that's obviously something I don't need right now. So just shake it. And then when you're ready, shift over to the other foot. Hold on if you need to. This is good for balance as well if you can practice it. And then shake your foot, shake the ankle, shake the knee, shake the hip. Just shake out whatever you don't need. And then upper body, this is easier because you don't need the balance, but shake your wrists, shake your hands, then shake your elbows, and then shake your shoulders. It's hard to talk though. Shake your shoulders and then give your shoulders a big move round. It's a wonderful way to just wake up, shake off the sleep, shake off anything that you don't need. There's another part to it too, which I won't show here because I'll probably hit my head on the desk, but where we flop forward, continuing to shake and then doing a yes and a no with your head dangling down. And then you can say yes to what you want, no to what you don't want, while stretching your neck and shaking the energy. And then I can feel it now. I'm buzzing a little bit because the energy's changed and we've kind of released some of that static that's in us. So in this place now, feel your feet and imagine from the bottom of your feet you're growing roots down like a tree, down, down, down into the earth, deeper and deeper and deeper. You can feel the energy of the earth, the spring earth, all that life coming together, all the possibility. Then you can draw up through the roots that you've down into earth, all the goodness and the energy that you need, drawing up nutrients, like drawing up water. So soak up the earth's energy and feel yourself strongly rooted, able to sway, able to move, but deeply rooted and strong, like a tree. Trees are such a wonderful metaphor, but right the way through their life. There's so much that goes on beneath the surface, but it's what we're rooted in that keeps us strong. But what are the values that matter to you? Are you looking after your physical basics? Are you feeling rested? Are you getting enough nutrition? Are you getting water? Are you able to move? Are you breathing? Are you giving yourself these physical basics that we're rooted in? And if you're not, don't judge yourself. Just gently ask yourself why. Stay with curiosity rather than judgment. And then gently give yourself your minimum requirements. I have a coach supervisor who, his question always used to be to me, what are your minimum requirements to do good work? I find it a very powerful question because it's around minimum requirements. It's not about having everything perfect. It reminds me that I'm not a machine. I'm an organic being. I need a minimum input in order to be able to get to what I want to do. I find it helpful because it reminds me it's not selfish to give myself what I need, because it's in service of me doing good work or being able to be there for other people. So it comes back to, what are my minimum requirements to do good work? Those physical basics, those 5 physical basics: good nutrition, enough water, getting sleep, being able to move, and remembering to breathe deeply, not just shallow, unconscious breathing, to spend a little bit of time breathing deeply and being in my body. A balanced existence, one where you're not being dominated by just one aspect. We are whole beings. Let's not just have what's going through our mind. Our emotions are not things to be denied or to be ashamed of. They are data. So can we be in touch with our emotions and informed by them rather than driven by them? And listening to our body, being aware of our body, noticing our body, appreciating our body. Again, letting go of the judgment of our body. We spend so much time judging ourselves, holding that secret shame about how we should be and what we're not. But we are who we are and where we are right now. And if we choose to change, well, that will be a journey. Back to trees. You don't go from being a small seedling to a huge 300-year-old oak overnight. An oak grows gradually each year, continuing to adjust and respond to the environment, to be in the moment, and it keeps growing. It doesn't have a 300-year plan to get from that being that seedling to where it wants to be. But it does allow itself to just be itself and to naturally grow. We get so caught in goals and places that we want to get to. We're striving to be somewhere else. We forget to respond to where we are right now. Yes, have an intention of where you're heading to, but don't have your attention so far in the future that you miss the joy of the journey. Being grounded is being in the here and now. It's a version of a mindfulness practice, except that's not quite how I think of it for myself. When I'm grounded, I'm noticing and aware of what's happening right now. I know where it is I might want to go to, but all I can do is look at each step at a time. All I can do is make sure, have I got the energy to do what's next? And is that taking me in the right direction? So, a little bit around what grounding is not. As I was doing a little bit of research around grounding, way before this, as I was looking at why we use the terms of grounding or earthing, and of course there's a whole industry that leaps up around it. The commoditization of all the different bits of equipment and gear that you can buy that will help you think that you are grounding. It makes me a little cross, actually, I notice, when I think about how we commoditize things that are freely available. Here, the outside world and nature is available to us all. These fundamental basics are just there. Going out and buying something will not allow us to ground. It is not something that we have. It is the way that we are. So you don't need lots of gear or kit. And yes, that's not to say that those things might help you. We don't need anything extra to help ourselves get into our bodies or feel connected, feel the earth and be grounded. It's worth thinking about how we invest in ourselves, what we do choose to spend our money on in those ways. I was speaking before Christmas with somebody who was telling me very proudly of a mug that he bought. And this mug was controlled by his smartphone. It meant that it could keep his cup of tea perfect temperature. And he paid £130 for this mug and was saying, "Wow, it'll change your life." I'm sorry, it won't change your life. Yet the same person was reluctant to spend money on something that really would change his life, in having the space to be able to invest in himself, in his own personal development, to look at how he gets in his own way. Instead, he chose to spend it on a mug, which I have no doubt by now is at the back of a cupboard, never being used again. So people often think about coaching or personal development as being an optional extra. Personally, I invest in it a lot. I know it's changed my life and continues to change my life. So you don't need more stuff, but you might need to be able to buy yourself some space, buy yourself a companion. Not buy the companion, you know what I mean. Buy yourself a guide, have the independent, objective space. So think about how you invest your money. Don't just buy grounding rods or earthing mats or anything like that. Think about what's going to give you a lasting investment that will continue to use. That's not a sales pitch for me. It's about all the opportunities that have been shown over this weekend. You work with people who are genuinely going to help you change your life. Don't just buy stuff. Let me just put a moment, because I want to look at the chat. But let me know if there are questions or trees. Perfect. Trees are the perfect analogy for so many things. Come back to them time and time again. Rachel, I see you keep changing from an extrovert to an introvert. I think we naturally, as we age, we become more and more an introverted version of ourselves. But I think also we become more willing to accept what we need. And whether we are introvert or extrovert or wherever we are on that scale is just simply about what gives us energy. And I think as we age, then actually a little bit more alone time to recharge becomes more necessary. But I know that for me, it's been around that acceptance. I thought to be successful because of the unconscious bias there is for, particularly in leadership, of being that hero leader, leading from the front, being an extrovert version of ourselves was what success was. I tried to be that. Whereas now I know actually that's not true. There's huge strength in introverted leadership. I even wrote a book on it. It's on Amazon. I'm proud that I've written a book on introverted leadership and the practical strategies for being at our best. The world needs the diversity in so many respects. We need people who are extroverted, we need people who are introverted, and everything in between. And the more we're able to accept who we are and our true nature, the more we relax back into enjoying and accepting ourselves, then the more we're able to achieve. I call this my journey of radical self-acceptance. There are still times when I worry that I'm not enough. There are still plenty of times when I get in my way. But actually, the more I get rid of those pieces, my personal growth is around shedding what I no longer need to reveal the true beauty of who I really am. Letting go of the baggage I've picked up over the years. I don't need to become somebody else. This is a process of discovering and revealing who I am. And it's the same for other people. They get so caught in, I want to be that over there, that they forget to look inside. And it's one of the programs that I run, actually. I have a program called What's Inside, which is not about goal setting or being somewhere else. It's about using metaphor and all our senses, every sense, to be able to understand ourselves right now, the light and the dark, without judgment, and be able to be curious about the different parts of ourselves, to be able to work with the subconscious. So I send a box in the post of sensory stimulation and metaphor to be able to look deeply inside. And I can support that with one-to-one coaching, or I do it with webinars. the details for that you can find on the page. But I love what's inside because I use it myself. It helps get to what I wouldn't otherwise be able to reach. And because it's so sensory, it keeps me grounded in that process. And all of us, I mean, I've spent 13 years on personal development, but personal development isn't something that you do once and expect to last for a lifetime. Somebody once said to me, it's like personal hygiene. You know, you don't just wash once and expect it to just stay like that forever. At some point, there's a build-up of stuff. And so I'm feeling that at the moment. With spring right now, the sense of new possibility, this liminal stage that we're in, as we're coming towards the end of lockdown into whatever comes next, whatever that may be, we're still heading into the unknown. And that sense of, we've all become a little bit institutionalized in our lives. There's a lot of uncertainty about who will we be next? What's it going to be like next? Will we be with something else? Who knows? I've noticed as I'm speaking to clients that there's quite a lot of anxiety and a sense of it maybe possibly being left behind, and having discovered new aspects of self during the lockdown. Some they may want to get rid of, and some they want to embrace them more. Sometimes lockdown's given us the opportunity given us the permission to take more time for ourselves, or to quieten the speed of life down a little bit more. Less so if people have been homeschooled, it's been a different matter altogether. But people now's an opportunity to think of, what do we want to hold on to, and what is it time to shed? And I'm in the same place myself. So from next week, I'm going to be, I'm doing a little bundle of my own, using my own products. Actually, I have an online course called the Alive Program, which is a really great stock take of where I am right now and what I would love to happen. Where are my strengths? What gets in my way? How am I going to make that happen? So there's a great structure for the thinking and thought process. And I'm going to combine that with my beautiful What's Inside boxes and the metaphor and the sensory experience to be able to do some much deeper reflection work. And I'm working with a coach myself. So I spend the next 3 months getting rid of what's no longer serving me, being ready for what comes next, and taking advantage of this spring momentum. And I have a group of people who are coming with me on the journey, and I'll be their coach through that journey too, in the sense of springing alive. And if you'd like to know more, then do just reach out to me. But it matters to me to walk the talk, and so I'll be using my own stuff and writing about it as I do. But it's the process it was going to do will be remind me what my roots are. What am I grounded in? What am I drawing on? What feeds me? What sustains me? What enables me? What hinders me? What's in the way? What makes me small? What makes me fearful? What are the old patterns that keep re-emerging? What can I shake up? What can I let go? I'm aware I've been rabbiting on for over 30 minutes now. So I'd love to hear, are there any questions? Do put them in the box. But while you're thinking what may be there, I'll just summarise a little bit. So what grounding is and what it isn't. Grounding is just a way of being able to shift your energy, whether that's being connected to the earth directly with your skin through your feet, feeling nature, or whether it's in shifting your own attention and energy internally away from what's running through your mind into your body to calm yourself using some of the great techniques that many of the other speakers are sharing through breath, through your body, through awareness, through attention, through being in the moment. It's not around buying stuff that has grounding in the name. That may help you, but not as much as actually what you choose to give yourself for free. And I would leave you also with a reminder of the oak, of ownership, taking ownership for your life and what you can control and letting go of what you can't. Acceptance of you are who you are right now, and no amount of frustration is going to change that. So save your energy for what's going to help you take the next steps forward. So go with acceptance, That's a huge grounding energy in itself. And above all, the kindness, not just for other people, but showing yourself kindness, because we need a nourishing environment if we're going to be able to grow. And we're so habitual in how we are hard and self-critical, we often don't even notice it. Choose a gentler way, because that's not a soft way, it's just a gentler way. It's hard to be kind to yourself when we've got a lifetime of not being. And sometimes it will take a mirror of somebody else to help you realise how much you're being hard on yourself. That's why I have a coach. Coaches have coaches. When you're in it yourself, you can't see it. It's you can't see the end of the nose or the back of your head without a mirror to show it up. When you're in it, it's hard to see it. So it's great to have a safe space, independent space, to be able to get the reflection back of what you're going through. So the kindness is a critical piece for us. Critical is the wrong word. Essential piece, something more of the essence, for us to be able to nourish ourselves and grow to our full potential. I find it hard to hand over control, even though it'd be for my benefit. June, that's absolutely true. Control's almost like a paradox. I call it the control paradox, that actually we have to give up trying to control in order to gain greater control, because the only true control is over our response. The rest is an illusion, and we get caught in the frustration. So it becomes can I let go of controlling in order to be in control of myself? And it's easy to say and not easy to do. Like anything, it's a practice. And as we practice, notice with curiosity rather than judgment of when we get caught in something, when we don't get it right. That's okay. Any change is a journey. I could rabbit on for hours and hours and hours about all kinds of stuff. But I would love to know if there are any other questions, any other comments. What would you like to know? Anything else that I can help with?
Hi. I just thought I'd come back and say hello and just, wow. Yeah, there's quite a lot of things in there that's really made me think. And I think controlling the response is huge. I mean, obviously I've had some technical issues today, but the only way that I can deal with it is the only way that I can deal with it. And I've done what I could do. And it's really interesting to know that I felt more in control being out of control than I've ever done in an event before. Yeah,
absolutely. It's fascinating because it gives us perspective, actually, and when it's almost because in those situations you have no choice, and it gives you perspective and it helps you realize sometimes it's easier to deal with the big stuff than it is the little stuff. I remember when my mum was ill and dying, actually about 5 years ago. I don't think there was a time where I felt more in control of myself, more alive, and often more joyful, because there was nothing I could do in that process other than choose how I wanted to be with her. It was easier to stay at my best in those big circumstances than, say, walking into my daughter's messy bedrooms. So often the big stuff's easier than the little stuff, and here you are beautifully holding a big event, and you can hear it as you talk about it, as saying, I can only do what I can do, and being in control. You can feel your energy settle as you say that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I've just written a couple of things down, and that respond to where we are right now. That's a good one, because we all spend such a lot of time thinking about this thing's going to happen tomorrow, next week, next month. How am I going to respond to it? And what's the point in wasting today worrying about what you're going to respond to tomorrow or next week?
Absolutely.
That's massive. That's really huge. Something that I've taken away from it. And it was interesting, the oak. I love the what you've got there, but I don't know whether you were here when I said I do one of a kind recycled dolls, and that's OAAK, one of a kind. So it's also the oak is one of a kind, isn't it?
It is. Oh, I love that. I love the synchronicity.
Yeah. So I think that was really, really interesting for me. And what are my minimum basics? Huge. Absolutely every day. What do I need today? And I've got a new puppy, and sometimes it's just to cuddle the dog.
Yeah, I mean, our minimum requirements are often just not much. It's surprising, but we will somehow won't allow ourselves, and particularly as women, often put our needs to the end of the list. You see, to make sure we see to everybody else first, and then there's nothing left. But even a machine needs a minimum input in order to have an output. And so we treat ourselves as less than machines, and not allowing ourselves to exhaust ourselves, deplete ourselves. Whereas actually those, I know I need daylight, I need some light, I need to feel connected, I need to be able to cuddle the cat or hug someone. My daughters are coming home now, come from university. I'm going to be able to hug them. My needs I've been missing. So I'm looking forward to having my big girls back home. But they're small things that make a big difference. And why do we deny ourselves those? So yes, minimum requirements.
Definitely,
it's not either. It's just what's our minimum.
I think there's a comment from Josie.
Control, one of the biggest things, and yes, it's simply liberating. You're right, it's a relief. It is liberating when we realise that we can't be in control over everything, and that it's not our responsibility. We're only taking responsibility for the bits that are ours, and only us. And yes, we can take responsibility for how we may impact on other people and be aware of that, but we can't control how other people choose to respond to us. And we definitely can't control what happens to us, particularly when it comes to technology.
That's absolutely true. Yeah.
Well, I look forward. I'm going to hang around and catch up with some more, because there's so many wonderful people in here. I'm looking forward to hearing some of the other wonderful speakers, and then catch up with what I can't get on the recordings and on YouTube too. And thank you so much, Rachel, for giving us all this opportunity.
Thank you.
What a great springtime event.
Thank you for coming. Thanks ever so much. We'll end the session. So bye, everyone.
Thank you.